it's been a long time. Hello fellow Tarnished, welcome back to the grass edition of Elden Ring. Thank you guys so much for 500 subscribers. Last time I made a video I was at 400, now I'm at 500, so thank you so much. And yes, I will keep going to thank people every 100 subscribers. I think this is awesome. Thank you guys so much for everyone who clicks on the video. Now let's get into the meat and potato of this whole purpose of this video. So the goal here is to give a review after about 80 hours of playing. We're a bit less than 1 week, we're 6 days after the release of Elden Ring. I've been playing the game left and right. I've put 80 hours in total into the game, and I'd like to give my thought over, of course, from a PvP perspective, not so much from a PvE perspective. We're gonna talk about PvE a little bit. So PvP, the good, let's talk about the good. So the good, we have a lot of new weapons. We have a lot of very viable options, a lot of very different viable options. Big weapons have never been that much viable. Big weapons like Ultra Great Sword, Colossal Weapon do have ways to complement for their slow attacks, whether it's through poise, whether it's through Ashes of War, which are preventing you from getting backstabbed, because that was one of the biggest problem with Big Sword, was that you would get backstabbed very quickly. However, backstab have changed. They are not broken, they are just different. Now, parry spam doesn't seem to be a thing. I have encountered very few parry spammer, reason being that there are more than ever options to counter parry spam. Jumping attack cannot be parried. A lot of different ways to counter parry spammer, so that's good. That's something I'm happy about. Something else, so there seems to be a lot of very viable options across the board. Dex builds are very strong, katanas are very strong, straight sword are strong. Of course, it's so hard to give a clear picture because the game has been out for a week. There's so many things to explore, so many ways to play that we haven't played, so many talismans to try, so many different builds to come. But yeah, now I want to talk about one thing that bothers me mostly, and that thing is invasion. What do I mean by that is that problem number one, you don't get the invasion item until pretty late into the game. You need to beat Gotrek in order to get your first invasion item. So that comes after the whole Limgrave area, the whole Stormvale area, which is a shame because it means that in this area you won't be able to invade that much, because the maximum finger that you can find are about, if I'm not saying any bullshit, I think you can find up to 10 fingers before you reach Liurna. So two things are problematic is that number one, you won't be able to invade a lot. That's actually something that FromSoft thought through. I think the idea here was to prevent new players from being invaded, right? It was a way for new players to be able to summon people, to get some help, to have some fun with the game, and not worry about getting shit on by a twinked out motherfucker, right? I do understand that perspective. The problem comes with people who do want to be invaded, people who would want to be invaded, such as myself, or who would like to invade. Well, it's not gonna happen, or it's gonna happen very scarcely. You won't get that much invaded, which sucks because in my opinion, after your first playthrough, invasion is what gives longevity to the game, because every time there's an invader in your game, the whole game becomes much more different, much more difficult, and it's a lot harder to play the game through, because what's hard about the first playthrough is that you don't know all the traps, you don't know all the enemies moveset, you don't know the area, you're a bit lost. After one playthrough, you're pretty much done with most of the big traps and of the big dungeon, right? The small things that are left there are little secrets, NPC quests, more weapons that you haven't found. So once you know all that, the invader is making the game difficult because you don't know where he is. He can set ambushes, he's gonna play with the enemy. Everything is just gonna become much more harder, and that's what I love about invasion, being invaded and invading. So that's one thing. Number two thing is that the game is very big, okay? That's awesome, that's great. It has a lot of longevity for PvE player, for people who want to explore the game, right? That's awesome. The problem, again, that comes with that is that where do you invade at what level? Because you can be in so many different places at different level range, at different weapon level range, and that just spread out the possibilities of invasion. Also, we have little symbols on the map that are supposedly here to show that there is activity. It's a bit cryptic how it works. We have a blue circle and a red circle. What do each other mean? It's not really clear. I don't really understand, because when I do try to invade, even in areas where there is like big red circles and they are like in flame and really bright, because some of them are very bright, some of them are a little bit less bright, well, I get nothing, right? And that goes to my second point. I had a lot of invasion activity, like a lot, like almost non-stop invasion from level 40 to level 50 with my weapon at +5, special weapon +5, so that will be +12, +13, regular weapon, normal weapon, like non-stop invasion back and forth in many different areas. Starting to reach level 80 with weapon at +10, almost nothing, like almost nothing. And if I'm not getting too much invasion at 7 weeks, at 7 days after the game releases, what is it going to be later on? So I'm sure they are going to explore with the matchmaking area, but that worries me a little bit for the more advanced PvP. Going into the topic of advanced PvP, meta level, like what do we do? You know, do we go 120? Do we go past it? It seems like the conversation is going towards going past it. Big problem here is that at level 120 with weapon at +10, people do a lot of damage. You get two-shotted, you get one-shotted for some people that don't invest too much into vigor. So maybe 150 will be the way to go, maybe even higher, so that we can have a lot of vigor and not die in one hit. So yeah, high-level invasion are not super fun because of that. I think that's a little bit of a problem in my opinion. One more thing going into high-level invasion is the weapon system. Why is the, I mean, I'm sorry, but like, why is the weapon upgrading system that convoluted? Why do you have the special weapon that goes from +0 to +10, which is fair enough, you know? You have your +1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 Ember Smithing Stone. And then for regular weapons, it goes to +25. Like, what the fuck? Like, why? Why does it go to +25? Why not going the Bloodborne route and have a system where you just have one material for upgrading every weapon? Or maybe two materials, but they all go to +10. That way, it's clear for everybody. We all have our weapon that goes to +10. It just makes the thing much more difficult for no particular reason. The only thing I see here is just the grind. It's just grinding, researching for the materials in order to make artificial longevity. So that's a bit of a bummer here. Another problem, I'm sorry, I'm just talking about problems, but that's what comes in my mind from a PvP perspective, is the No Co Invader. Like, 1v3 against, and I called it out. Many of you guys were almost insulting me in the comment section, saying that I was wrong. I called it out. I said magic is a problem. I called it out even before the game releases from the network test. I said when people will have fully upgraded mages, they're gonna spam their shit at you from miles away, not doing much, just pressing R1 from afar, you know, using the little spell with the little wand. There's nothing you're gonna do, and there it is. I mean, we have a plenty of example of people that are just spamming magic from afar, and you're just done. Like one of these spells, I'm not even sure what the name is, can one-shot you. Like, it's just a tracking thingy and it's just killing you. A lot of Ashes of War are pretty fucking annoying also. I see the stomp ice thingy. It's like, what the fuck is this? Like, it just hits you. It doesn't seem like you can really dodge it. Of course, there might be a way to avoid it, and I haven't found it yet. That's just like from my first experience. Yeah, the blood also is a bit of a problem. The problem with the bleed is not so much that bleed is good, right? Because I heard G9 in his stream was talking about how people complain about this and that, and that bleed is not a problem so far from what he has encountered. Bear in mind, he's still level 40 at +8, so he's still invading low-level player that probably don't have blood weapon or very few blood weapons. The big problem with blood is that it procs very quickly, and it procs even when you dodge it. So that's something that needs to go. It's like they don't touch you, but you get hit by the blood buildup and then you get bleeded out. So yeah, big problem here. A couple of Ashes of War, especially the blonde hound step that goes really far. It's very quick, it's a bit dumb. I mean, I'll definitely suggest you guys watch G9's stream to have a bit more of an understanding of what I'm talking about, but it's just, yeah, but again, that's to be expected, right? The game just releases, there's a bunch of new things, they have not been able to test everything out, so that thing will settle in a long time. But honestly, the one invader thing against 3 people, and sometimes they have magic and almost one-shot ability at high level, that's a mistake. That's a big mistake. One of the most fun thing to do in Dark Souls 3 was to have a co-invader face 4 people in Ring City. That was one of the funniest things to do. That was one of the most challenging thing to do, and even harder in Gang City when it was 3v3. I mean, sometimes it was not 3v3, but most of the time you would get invader co-teammate. You had co-invaders, and then you were able to turn the tides against a gank, you know, and those moments were precious, but those moments are apparently gone. I don't know if we will have a patch where they will allow for 3 invaders to come at the same time. That'll be awesome. Maybe later down the road when they will release DLC, because they will release DLC, like, of course, there is no arena. We are missing a Gang City. Where is the Gang City hall? Yeah, so I don't know why they went this route. I think it's again for casuals to protect them, or not even sure, because if you use a dried finger or a pale tongue, that means that you want to be invaded. So here is what I've done at high level in order to have some high level at 120. In order to have some fun with many people coming into my world, was I didn't kill Milenia. I think that's her name, Milenia. I didn't kill her. And I kept the area so with the boss, and I can be invaded by 2 people, and what I do is that I summon 1 guy with me and we try to go through the level. We don't really go very far, but those are the most fun I have at high level. And another problem is that at high level, that's the only place where I find invasions. I mean, you can find invasion other areas, but in other areas, but you're gonna wait a long time. You're gonna wait a while. Another thing that comes into my mind is there are too many lost graces. What do I mean by that? I think it's good so that basically how it used to work, you had like 1, 2, 3 bonfires per area, but the area was super big. Or sometimes you had even just 1 bonfire for the area, but the area was huge. And it was connected through many various shortcuts that you had to unlock, right? That way you were able to go from one place to the other without having to go to another bonfire or another lost grace. Now we have, I think just in Stormvale, there is at least five different things. What does that mean? Is that a problem? Yes and no. It's good for PvE player, for people who explore through the game and want to go to one area to the other quite quickly without having to run for 5 minutes. That is good. That's a good implementation. I'm talking from a PvP perspective. The problem is that when you invade in those areas, well, the invasion range is divided. If you invade at one Lost Grace, you're not going to invade people at another Lost Grace, you know? So it's just like, I'm not sure how this whole thing works. But I do see that when I invade at one Lost Grace, I just invade people in that Lost Grace. And what would have been better is have a more wide range of invasion areas. You know, you could invade like at the end of the level, if you invade at the beginning of the level, if that's the activity you find. So yeah, I see quite a bunch of problem, and I'm not delusion, you know, I'm not like disillusioned, like, oh, the game is terrible. The game is still fucking awesome. I just want it to be perfect, so of course I'm going to be disappointed, right? But how I'm going to go about this, I'm gonna wait a little bit so that everyone catch up and gets to high level, 150, 120, depending on what everybody decides to do. I think 150 could be a good thing. Reason being that, yeah, we need a lot of vigor. We need high vigor to not get two-shot or one-shot by spells or abilities. One other thing that comes into my mind, Ashes of War seems to do more damage than the weapons themselves. For example, the unleashing blood spray, I forgot the name of it. I was invaded by a guy who was using that, and he was doing much more damage to me with that than with his actual katana. Same thing for the Moonveil katana. We have the Moonveil katana. It's a katana that acts very much similarly to the Moonlight Greatsword, where it shoots beams of magics, and those beams comes out very quickly. They travel very far, and they don't require too much FP, and it's like sometimes you get blendered away. Blender is also a bit annoying, but not the end of the world. Like, you can get blendered, but it's not so bad as it used to be. It used to be terrible. Now it's good. So how I'm going to go about it, I'm gonna wait for everyone to come and settle and get to whichever max level is, and maybe we'll have fun doing pale tongue, lure tongue runs. Another thing is I'll probably stick to low level invasion around level 50, around level 60 to invade in different areas, because yeah, I want to have fun with the game, and I don't want to get stuck at one place getting one shot by spells and mages. Okay. Okay, that felt very good. That felt very, very good to talk about all this. Now, let's end on a positive note, shall we? Yes, the game is fucking awesome. I mean, there's so many weapons to do, there's so many build crafting, so many variety, but it's just that these outliers about matchmaking, about the spreading of the player base in so many different areas, about abilities that don't require too much skills, because that's at the end what we want, right? That's what I talked about in my video talking about mages, was that we want a game with a high skill gap, because in Dark Souls 3 I'm not getting killed by people that are not as good as me or better. It doesn't happen, especially in a 1v1 it doesn't happen, even in 2v1 it doesn't happen, and most of the time even in a 3v1 it doesn't happen. However, in Elden Ring I lost a lot of battles against players which were definitely worse than me. What do I mean by worse than me? They had less good spacing, less good understanding of the game, they had less good, worse, we can use the word worst. They had worse reaction time, they had worse time, they had worse foresight on my potential plays. So, and they were able to kill me because they stayed a bit afar and they were like spamming abilities and Ash of War, and yeah, then I'm dead. And that's a feeling that I really would have liked not to feel again, because I played a bunch of Destiny 2 waiting for Elden Ring, and that's a feeling that you have all the time. It's like you lose and you think like, is there really something I could have done better in this situation? And when the answer to this question is no, it's like you realize that you didn't get outplayed, you didn't make a mistake. Fucking dog is like, shut the fuck up. So you realize that you didn't make a mistake, you didn't play, not, what the fuck, shut up. So yeah, you go back at the footage, you realize I didn't do any mistake. Was there anything else I could have done different to win this invasion? And you look back and you think, oh no, there was nothing else I could have done. Like, I just couldn't beat this ability spam or this thing. And I really hope that they will fix this. I'm sure they will. However, they might also not, because they might want people to feel very powerful with their little magic, with little effort put into the game, which is funny enough to me, because the PvE is really difficult. Like, honestly, if you solo the game through, it's very difficult. I still haven't beaten Millennia. I think she's tough as fuck. She has 2 phases. Even the first phase, she gathers health back when she hits you. It's quick. Like, it's tough, man. It's honestly, and even the last bosses were really, really difficult. Like, Godfrey was difficult. Radagon was difficult. The Radagon plus the Beast of the Earth Tree was really difficult. Also, yeah, I mean, I'm not talking about the word and I'm not talking about the world and the PvE and the story. I love all that. Like, I loved every second of playing through the game, exploring caves, finding an NPC, going through the quest. Somehow I was able to do like many of the NPC quests just by thinking things through. I took notes. I had a little notebook and I took notes about, oh, this guy wants this. Okay, I need to remember this name. I need to look in this area. I also think that some quests were just bad design. For example, finding the half left of the medallion that you need to go into the Elfea, that was hidden. It was like hidden. It was I just cannot find the words to, because I was just like, where the fuck is this? I looked everywhere. I was like, where is it? It turns out it was a pot that you had to hit, then it turns into a person, and that person gives you the medallion. Like, what the fuck? How are we supposed to know that? Like, how do we know? Like, is there any notes? Is there anyone telling us that? Like, what the fuck? And it's a bit the same with Rani's story. So Rani's story, you progress through a point where she disappears and you go through a portal and then you find a doll. And then if you keep going the way, you find the Scarlet Swamp, the Rotten Swamp, I think it was called. And then you fight a couple of bosses, couple of enemies over there. And it's like, okay, cool, where do I go? And then you fight a boss. You go into a coffin, you fight a big butterfly weird thingy of death. Then you get to a door, it says you need a ring to go through. So I'm like, okay, that's probably Rani's hideout or something. What do I do with the doll? So you look at the doll, doesn't say anything, just say, oh, it's a doll looking like Rani. Okay, cool. And then I go back to the smith. Okay, what's up? Oh, Blade, don't worry about Blade, he's somewhere. It's like, what do you mean he's somewhere? Like, tell me more. Where is he? Do I need to find him to find the ring? And I just looked for, I was like, Blade must be the key. So I looked everywhere for that motherfucker. Like, every fucking where in the game, went through every areas when we met him, went to see like, is there anything I can find? Is there any thing I haven't found? And I'm sure I've missed it. I'm sure he's somewhere and we can rescue him, because it turns out that he's dying afterward. And it turns out that, yeah, you don't need Blade to finish this quest. What you need to do is go to the Lost Grace where you teleport. You go very down in your menu, so there is like 100 of things. That I'm exaggerating. There's like level up, there is like Ashes of War, learn magic, learn spells, whatever. Go to this, go to that, and on the very bottom, it's written talk to the doll. Like, what the fuck? And you need to talk 2 times, sir. You talk to the doll 2 times, and then the quest continues. It's like, how was I supposed to know that? Like, how? I could have looked for it for 2 more weeks that I wouldn't have found it. Or maybe I would have found it by chance, but the probability is very slim. So yeah, those are little quests that they fucked up in my opinion. But overall, like, it's just an awesome game. It lives to the hype 100%. It lives to the hype. Weird decision with the invasion thingy, with preventing low-level invasion, which I understand, and making high-level invasion very, very, very difficult, and also very spread out, very short. And yeah, not having something similar to Aldrich Faithful or to Watchdog of Farron is really a bummer. I don't know why they went that route. Yeah, I really don't know. The more I think about it, the more I'm like, why have they done that? Like, why? I don't get it. And so yeah, that's a bit my early review on the game. We're gonna need to go through a little bit more. We need to be careful calling out for nerfs. Nerf this, nerf that. We'll see in the long run what happened. But so far, it's really interesting that my prediction were right. Okay, I'm not gonna take any more of your time. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you for stopping by. If you have any reaction on what I'm saying, leave it in the comment. I answer to every comment, and that's not like a bait, that's true. I do answer to every comment. And yeah, don't forget to subscribe, leave a like, and I see you, my fellow Tarnished, in the next video. Bye. Bye bye.